The former CEO of clothing retailer Abercrombie & Fitch has been arrested on federal sex trafficking and interstate prostitution charges. Mike Jeffries, his partner, and a third associate are accused of recruiting young men under the guise of modeling opportunities and coercing them to perform sex acts.
P. Diddy wasn't the only one who had freak-offs. Mike Jeffries also did the same. Mike Jeffries was the chairman and CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch from 1992 to 2014. He turned around the business from losing $25 million yearly to making $2 billion yearly by 2006. Without Jeffries, Abercrombie & Fitch would have failed. Despite this success, many viewed his approach as controversial, especially with how he used naked models. The controversy sparked investigation, and what was found was so shocking that authorities had to arrest Mike Jeffries. What did they find out? What will be next for Mike Jeffries? Is he connected to the Diddy case? Find out in this tell-all video. Reviving a dead business. When Leslie Wexner bought Abercrombie & Fitch in 1988, the fashion company failed to make any money. They was losing $25 million a year. Wexner was worried, and so naturally, he began to look for how he could turn his business into a money-making one. So he made two decisions. He hired Jeffrey Epstein as his financial advisor. Well, we all know who Epstein was and the kind of shady stuff he was up to. Then, Wexner also hired Mike Jeffries in 1992. Looks like Wexner just can't stop appointing people who have a certain kind of interest in a certain type of shady deals. What do we mean? You'll see. When Jeffries took control of Abercrombie as the CEO in 1992, he made many changes which many at the time until now thought were crazy. He changed the way Abercrombie approached customers. The business began to focus on who Jeffries referred to as the cool kids. He once said, "We hire good-looking people in our stores because good-looking people attract other good-looking people, and we want to market to cool, good-looking people. We don't market to anyone other than that." Jeffries hired muscular and sexy college students as employees for the stores. He also hired shirtless models who greeted customers who entered the stores. His strategies worked and business was good, but it was also very troublesome. Abercrombie went from one PR mess to the other because of Jeffries' approach. The criticisms came in bucket loads. Abercrombie was criticized for not being a company that was open to different people. The American Decency Association criticized them and accused promoting indecency. The feminist movement blamed the company for being sexist. Even the company's Black, Latino, and Asian American employees filed a class action lawsuit against the company. They claimed that the company discouraged minorities from applying. It was a nightmare. With these controversies, the best thing was Jeffries' changing approach, but all that was happening didn't matter to Jeffries. He was extremely powerful and viewed himself as untouchable. So he did whatever and wanted and loved using his power, enjoy some of the things he felt were the benefits he was meant to enjoy. What were these things? Wait, we will get to that soon, but let's paint a picture. Jeffries usually had his weekends to himself and told his regular staff to leave while he had what was called his playtime. Why was he asking his employees to leave? What secrets was he keeping from them? What was this playtime? Did Abercrombie know he was using his powers anyhow? Abercrombie also couldn't fire Jeffries. He was bringing the company money. By 2006, they made $2 billion yearly. Business was booming. Then 2008 came, and it turned out to be a troublesome year in more ways than one. The year raised questions about Abercrombie's method of operation, and no, this isn't about the financial crisis of that year. What then are we talking about? We'll get to that soon. Jeffries eventually made a great mistake. During that 2008 financial crisis, he failed to change the company's strategy. The financial crisis caused a recession which led to customers looking for less expensive brands. As a result, A&F's sales began to reduce, and they became unpopular. Since they only sold to a particular set of customers, other people didn't find them attractive enough to buy their products. Jeffries didn't know what to do. He was so rigid in his methods. Eventually, the board was forced to sack Jeffries in 2014, and the company immediately began to work on changes. They stopped using topless models and weren't only employing athletic college students. Unfortunately, it was too late. What Jeffries and the company didn't know was that undercover investigations had begun in 2021, and that investigation led to his arrest in October 2024. The shocking revelation: Jeffries, his partner Matthew Smith, and a man named James Jacobson were arrested and indicted on charges of sex trafficking and interstate prostitution. These are serious crimes, and according to these charges, Jeffries was running a sophisticated operation that required millions of dollars to sustain. He hired middlemen, security operatives, staff, had non-disclosure agreements, and other pretty crazy stuff. How did the BBC learn about all of this? According to the BBC, we can say Jeffries had his freak-offs while Jeffries had his playtime, which has been happening for so long. However, investigation captured the events from 2008 to 2015. Allegedly, Jeffrey has sexual relationships with the shirtless models that Abercrombie uses, and some that the Jeffries promised to give jobs to. However, it isn't all the time that Jeffries fulfills his promise. To him, he was just having fun and using his powers. To the models, it was hell on earth. The investigation led BBC to David Bradbury, who wanted to be an Abercrombie model back in 2010, and his story was quite sad. At the time, Bradbury was 23 and was looking for his chance to make it in the super competitive modeling industry. Bradbury met Jacobson, who allegedly is the leader of the middlemen that helped bring models to Jeffries. Bradbury claimed when he met Jacobson, he thought he would get an opportunity with Abercrombie, but was surprised when Jacobson made a weird request. Jacobson said he knew Jeffries and wouldn't let Bradbury meet him unless they had oral sex. Bradbury was desperate. He needed Abercrombie to take the next step of his career as a model and convinced himself to give Jacobson oral sex. Jacobson then set up a meeting between Jeffries and Bradbury. Bradbury thought it was over and he had finally made it as a model. He thought Jeffries was the good guy, and Jacobson was the creepy man working with them. Famous last thoughts, anyone? What Bradbury didn't know was he had participated in what Jeffries and his associates regarded as tryouts. What they did was when their agents brought models to Jacobson, he paid the agents their fee and had sexual relations with the models to see if they would be good enough for Jeffries. Pretty disgusting, isn't it? Jeffries liked Bradbury when they met at a secluded location, but instead of a contract of employment, he got a non-disclosure agreement and the inability to say no to sex. It turned out when he met Jeffrey, Bradbury was surrounded by people wearing the Abercrombie and Fitch uniforms. Did Abercrombie and Fitch know about Jeffrey's playtime? When Bradbury saw them, he was afraid and felt if he didn't accept Jeffrey's demand for sex, he would be harmed. After the sex, Bradbury thought he had done all they asked, and now they'll give him a job. He wanted what he had to be worth it. It wasn't only Bradbury that the BBC interviewed. There were almost 15 models who came out to talk. They said they weren't aware of what they were getting into, and they felt powerless. They admitted that they were paid, but then things got darker each passing day. They noticed that when they tried to talk, private security operatives followed them and prevented them from talking. Other witnesses also claimed they were fearful of their lives and were being harassed by these security operatives. Initially, when BBC published their findings, Jeffries denied he had done anything that was illegal. Jacobson claimed he didn't force anybody to do anything, that it was all consensual. Are they telling the truth? Authorities don't think so. BBC's report sparked a class action civil suit in 2023, and what the suit revealed was very terrible. The suit claimed that he was involved in sex trafficking over 100 young men for sex parties when he was the CEO of Abercrombie. What happened at those parties is beyond terrible. Abercrombie denied knowledge of what was happening, but there are some reports that Jeffries used company money to fund his parties. In 2023, the company had launched their investigation using a private law firm, but their reports aren't public yet. What is public so far is that those sex parties were horrifying, and they took place in New York, England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's. Jeffries allegedly injected the models who didn't want to do sex acts with aphrodisiacs, and also used muscle relaxants on them. He also allegedly drugged others so he could have his way with them. People have been horrified by what Jeffries has been up to, and they have been questioning the darkness that is around the fashion industry, Hollywood, and the entertainment industry. The world is still shaking from the aftermaths of Diddy's revelation and his party. While the Diddy and Jeffries have a similar case, investigations have not linked them together yet. But we never know. Investigations are still going on. What do you think the authorities will find? They have arrested and indicted Jeffries, but he has made bail and is still claiming innocence. Is he?